Citizen Television.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of the Planetary Persuader. I'm Cosmic Kev, your host. This week's forecast is for January 23rd through the 30th, 2015. So what do we got going on now? Well, folks, we are in the midst of a Mercury retrograde, and whenever Mercury is retrograde, the best thing to do is to stick with Plan A. You'll be tempted to go to Plan B, but once you go to Plan B, you'll end up going back to Plan A again, and you'll have to undo everything that Plan B included. So that's my description of Mercury retrograde. Here's another thing about it, though. When you have Mercury retrograde, Mercury rules our consciousness. You know, in the Sanskrit Jyotish practitioners of astrology would call it Buddha. So consciousness, and Buddha means consciousness in Sanskrit. Consciousness existed before the Buddha existed, and
You're on.
okay, and then we've got in Western astrology we'd say the sun's in Aquarius. In Vedic we'd say it's in Capricorn. We'd say that Saturn in Western astrology is in Sagittarius, but in Vedic astrology it's in Scorpio. And Vedic astrology goes along with sidereal astrology. That's the astrology where you come on like a shaman and you just look out at the sky and you just call those planets in the constellations as you see them. But in Western astrology is very like solar based in a lot of ways. That's why most of you out there viewing know about your sun sign. And even though in Vedic astrology, unless you're the last 6 degrees of that sign, it's probably going to be in the previous sign. Yeah. And because there's 30 degrees to every sign in the zodiac, and that's how much things have been tweaked in the last 1,500 years. So there's legitimacy in both ways, but I do like to give the Jyotish some explanation and some props, because it's a powerful tool in your life when you know that form of astrology, and it's completely based on your rising sign and your moon sign. Okay, so this week we're in a waxing moon period. That means the moon's gaining energy. We're starting out Friday night with the moon in Pisces. This whole weekend the moon's going to be in Aries, though. And so there'll be a lot of focus on new beginnings, and there's actually a warmer than usual forecast for the West Coast this weekend coming up, so there might be some nice warm sunny weather for you to enjoy. And there's also a stellium of planets right now in Pisces, so there's this need to create completion. There's this need to be emotionally sensitive. There's this need to dissolve things in our lives that are no longer useful. So that's how we'll go. Now let's talk about Western astrology, Aquarius. So sun's in Aquarius, key phrases I know. So we're dealing with knowledge here. We're dealing with an air sign ruled by Saturn. Okay, maybe a little bit by Uranus as well, but let's keep it on the old school tip, because Saturn in its wisdom teaches us to get rid of things we don't need. And Aquarius is very innovative. They're very inventive. They can fix things really well. They tend to have really good mechanical minds, and so this really makes them a total asset. Now on the opposite end of all this stuff, we've got Jupiter and Leo. So Jupiter and Leo is really holding everything up. And Jupiter and Leo says, hey, come from the heart. Do creative stuff. Play with your kids. Have fun. That's the essence of the Leo energy right now. North Node we got in Libra, South Node in Aries. So instinctually, we're taught, we got to defend ourselves. We've got to be first. We've got to be able to be violent to meet other violence, but what we're reaching for is let's Violence only begets more violence. You know, Martin Luther King, Jr., whose birthday we celebrated last week, said one of the most amazing things. Said, you know, in 1957, he says, yeah, you can come to our houses. You can burn down our churches. You can crush our children's bones. But you know what? We're going to get up and say, I love you, even if you are an evil, mean persecutor, because we will never stoop down to the laws of hate and vengeance. Love is the way. That's the answer. That's where I'll begin with today's Cosmic Forecast.